各位现场的长官
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome to the AIC American Innovation Center Forum. We have a lot of people with us today. Please allow me to introduce some of the special guests we have here today. First of all, let us welcome the host organizer of this event, Mr. Luke Martin, Cultural Affairs Officer of AIT. Could you wave for us? Thank you. Mr. Luke Martin is very enthusiastic. He's eager to speak to us. Next is the Andrew Gately, the AIT Commercial Section Deputy Senior Commercial Officer, as well as RRT Schroff from the Economic Section of AIT. Each year, we also have Dr. Lee from the ITRI, the Industrial Technology Research Institute, as well as Dr. Lin from the Taiwan Institute of Economic Research. We will also have Dr. Tong from 3M, who will be talking to us about materials and innovation. We also have CEO and co-founder Arthur Huang of MiniWiz. And please also let us welcome General Manager Vincent Shi of Microsoft Taiwan. And also let us please welcome CPO Officer Mr. Peng from Gogoro. And we also have a representative from Tesla. We have many experts and leaders in the industry with us today to talk to us about some of the innovative measures we can take in the future. Now, before we begin our forum today, we'd like to say that our topics today include materials and innovation, digital transformation towards net zero, and also energy and technology, as well as sustainability in all of these industries. The American Innovation Center was established in 2012, and it has always been involved in digital learning, as well as sharing the expertise in sustainability and digital technology. And it provides all kinds of information and resources to young people who are interested in this area. The AIC has been holding this forum for 6 consecutive years. We've invited many people to join us in organizing these events, and we very much thank them for the support. We thank AIT and AIC for organizing this event. And now let us please welcome Mr. Andrew Gately to say a few words for us. Can we please pause the music? Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I am very pleased to be here on behalf of AIT. I am from the AIT Commercial Section, and today I'd like to discuss very briefly what the Commerce Department at the commercial section at AIT, what role we have in this digital transformation as well as digital innovation. A lot of people ask me, Andrew, why is innovation so great? What's so great about it? Now, it's not easy to answer that question. I will say that the Commerce Department has a program called Select USA. It's held every year, and this year we'll be organizing it. Last year it was canceled. Now the Select USA Summit is coming up. It will be held in June, from June 7th to June 9th. And this year we have many delegations 100 plus Taiwanese businesses have registered to participate. They will be attending this Select USA Summit. We've conducted service, and some of the reasons for investing in the U.S. includes innovation as well as the talent that we have in the U.S. There are a lot of great universities in the U.S., and that is a lot of its appeal. But I think innovation is key. How do you exactly explain the environment for innovation? That's kind of hard to explain, but I'll try. The Commerce Department at the U.S. supports innovation. The first one is PTO. This is the Patent and Trademark Office. I think most of you are aware of the issue of patent protection. Intellectual rights protection is very important to spurring innovation because this is the incentive part of driving innovation. If you have a patent that gives you exclusive access to these ideas, then it will be able to spur innovation. Now, Taiwan has made great strides in terms of IPR the past few decades, and this has done a lot in spurring innovation and also fostering talent. A less familiar aspect is the NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology under the Commerce Department. This NIST agency can be said to be the only one of its kind in the world because America is special in its industrial standards that are set by private companies. A lot of industry standards are set by private companies and also by unions and also by non-governmental organizations. It's not set by the government. NIST is very supportive of enabling an environment that allows private companies to get together and discuss these standards. A lot of people often mix standards and certification. And inspection. The U.S. is different from many other countries in this regard. Taiwan has a special bureau in charge of certification and inspection, but the U.S. does not do that. We have UL or other private companies who engage in this kind of certification. This is what makes NIST very special. I've worked in Taiwan, in Brazil, in China, and also in the U.S., and I personally think that the government is not able to adapt that quickly. The government often only has preliminary understanding. The government does not react as fast as private companies. The government is also not as innovative or agile as private companies. But we wanted to still be able to spur innovation and create an environment that enables it. I'm sure you're all heard of WTO. There is a mechanism called TBT, This is the agency in charge of standards at WTO. WTO supports this multi-path approach because this increases consumer choice, promotes competition, and also facilitates global trade. I'm not saying that Taiwan should change its systems, but I do hope that Taiwan will be able to harmonize itself with the standards of other countries to connect internationally, because I think this will be beneficial to Taiwan's innovation and also will make Taiwan more agile. To be able to innovate, you must be agile. I'll stop here, but I'd like to thank everyone who has come here today to attend this event. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Andrew Greatly, for your remarks. Next, we're going to welcome our Deputy Chief of Economic Section, Ms. Rati Shroff, to give us a few words. Please. I'm a bit shorter, so please adjust the microphone for me. Thank you. Yeah, it's fine. Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm AIT Economic Section Deputy Chief Arati Shroff, and we are pleased to have the opportunity to be here to talk about the issue of sustainability and innovation. All these are very important and urgent issues related to the environment. As we all know, today also marks the Earth Day. The purpose of the Earth Day is to raise our awareness for environmental protection. So this is also an opportunity for us to discuss how we can jointly promote more effective ways to achieve sustainability. And because of my work, I work to promote America's economic policies. So I would like to start from this aspect. Sustainable development and economic development, what are their relationships? The answer is very simple. Sustainable development can support economic development. We hope to enact policies that can support long-lasting economic growth rather than posing damage to economy or culture. We don't want such kind of policies. Science, technology, and innovation have always been the foundation for America's economic development. In all these aspects, we have continued to make progress and to increase the well-being in the United States. We hope to promote the policies to facilitate innovation and sustainable development so that we can further promote sustainable and prosperous economic policies. And based on the 2015 UN SDG Sustainable Development Goals, to promote sustainable economic growth, we can help mitigate CO2 emissions that may lead to greenhouse warming, global warming. So in terms of our national security and foreign policy, all these are closely related. President Biden, after a few days into his inauguration, immediately signed the New Deal. He has included climate issue into all of the American policies, and it has become a core issue for the U.S. Actually, just this evening, in a few hours, President Biden will join the climate summit held in Washington, D.C. He will reiterate that the U.S. will continue to work with all of the countries and economies to face the climate threat together. We will take actions to ensure the U.S. and also other countries in the world will be able to face the urgent issues of the world. Also, the U.S. and its workers and companies will be able to play a leading role and to understand what's happening. And so that we'll be able to reach the 2015, the net zero carbon emissions, and we will be able to march on this path. President Biden has proposed the climate anomaly. This is not just an issue for a moment, and he didn't mention these out of political concerns. He did this because he listens to science and he relies on scientific evidence. The U.S. hopes that from a scientific and economic perspective, we can use reasonable methods to work to try to create job opportunities and spur our economic development. Now, I would like to move on to a very important priority. That is, we want to reduce the risks for our supply chain, as well as how to realize the global supply chain. So I think this is the most urgent topic for us now. Over the past 1.5 years, the U.S. and Taiwan have worked closely to promote the global supply chain, and we have worked with the experts from the supply chain. I also had the opportunity to visit the Taiwanese universities to share with the Taiwanese students about how the U.S. and Taiwan can work together to promote the resilience for our supply chain. Many of the students told me that they really want to know more about how to make the supply chain not only more resilient, but also more sustainable, greener. So the discussion of the green supply chain has become a very heated topic around the world. I'm very pleased that young people now do care about sustainable development and the environment. For a long time, agile supply chain has boosted economic development, but it has become more and more difficult. Ever since the outbreak of COVID-19, in a few short months, we have seen clearly that the global supply chain is extremely vulnerable. Now, we need to take actions to effect changes. I also want to tell all of you that Taiwan and the U.S. have worked closely on various important policies, and Taiwan has been a great responsible stakeholder for many important global issues, hoping to make the world a better place. President Tsai has reiterated the importance of accelerating our partnership with the United States. And that's also the 2025 nuclear-free homeland policy in Taiwan. The Taiwanese government also launched 6 major industries in Taiwan, hoping to make Taiwan the Asia's green energy hub. The U.S. and Taiwan have about 30 years of cooperation in environmental protection. Our cooperation fields includes promoting sustainable development. We have developed new materials in this regard, promoting circular economy, reducing waste, reducing air pollutions, alleviating pollution on soil and water, as well as environmental education. Taiwanese companies, in terms of the reduction of waste of plastic and recycling, have done a stellar job around the world. In 2018, FIFA, the football league. Actually, we have used the recycled PET bottles to make the jerseys for the FIFA players. Actually, Mr. Arthur Huang, here you are. He's the founder of Miniwiz, and he's also here. He's the driver behind the story, and he's going to tell us more. Miniwiz has recycled 1.51 million PET bottles and to create the Flora Expo venue. And this is the largest recycled building. The US and Taiwan still has many areas for further cooperation, but we require the cooperation among the government, industry, and academia, as well as the cooperation from the organizations. And that is the reason why I'm here to join today's Innovation Forum. In response to the impact of COVID-19, Taiwan has fully demonstrated its outstanding response capability. We hope that Taiwan will continue to help promote global sustainability so that Taiwan can create a Taiwan model to drive green and sustainable economic recovery. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Arati Shroff. And next, let us please welcome Cultural Affairs Officer Luke Martin. Please, a warm round of applause for Mr. Luke Martin. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Luke Martin, Cultural Affairs Officer at AIT. My main responsibilities at AIT is to promote cultural and educational exchanges between Taiwan and the U.S. I am also a host of the AIC Innovation Forum. I am very happy to welcome you all to this event today, and I want to thank my colleagues for their remarks. As you all know, today is the International Earth Day. This started out in 1970. In 1990s, it was expanded across the world. 50 years ago, in 1970, on April 22nd, there were 20 million U.S., about 1/10 of the population in the U.S., who stepped out onto the streets or gathered on campuses and launched this movement, this effort to save the earth. It was started decades ago. This movement gained traction in the U.S. and gradually spread across the world and affected economic policies and so on. This movement is one of the most large-scale efforts. This is an effort based on science to protect our Earth. Earth Day has also brought into existence many laws aimed at protecting the environment, protecting water resources, as well as wildlife. The U.S. federal government also established the Environmental Protection Administration, pushing the environmental effort to new levels. This movement was very far-reaching and spurred many developments. This example also shows how education and this kind of movement can impact our lives. Examples such as COVID-19 as well as the incident in Suez Canal are all examples of how human activity has a big impact on the earth. We are all connected. I hope that we can really embrace the concept of sustainability and embrace it in our hearts, and we can adopt innovation as a means to find solutions to these problems. I think this will make Earth Day ever more meaningful. I very much look forward to the following speeches by experts in Taiwan, and I look forward to them sharing their experiences. I hope you have a fruitful event.
好，那接下来呢，我们就请
Now it's time for a photo call, and we're going to invite our guests to the stage. Now we're going to invite Managing Director of 3M Taiwan, Dr. Jeffrey Tong, as well as Mr. Arthur Huang from Miniwiz, and also Dr. Shichi Li from ITRI, and also Mr. Vincent Shi from Microsoft, and Vice President Kelly Ko from Delta, and also Mr. Peng from Gogoro, and Dr. Lin from TIER, and also from our AIT, Rati Shroff, and also Mr. Andrew Greatley of the AIT. Please come back to the stage. So you can see that AIT has surrounded our partners, so please look at the front and please stand closer to the center of the stage. So please give us your thumbs up. And please look at the cameras in the front. Thank you. Thank you very much. Please return to your seats. So I believe that today's event will definitely be very beneficial to all of you. Before we begin, we would like to remind you that in the AIC Innovation Forum today, because of the IPR, so please do not take photos or record the speech, because we have our professional team to live stream the event on Facebook. So if you would like to watch the event again, please go back and watch the streaming online, but please do not record the event here. I know everyone is very interested in this event, so I know on AIT's Facebook, over hundreds of people have already logged in and they would like to listen to our speech. So now we'd like to move on to the first. As we all know, on the way to sustainability, we would like to start from recycling the materials to start the way of circular economy. So our first topic is materials and innovation. First of all, we would like to welcome our moderator, Dr. Shichi Li from ITRI, to give us the opening. So Dr. Li, please. Should I come up to the stage? Yes, please. Please make yourself comfortable. So you can see my photo looks younger. Thank you to the organizer for inviting me here, and I would like to welcome all of you. So good afternoon to you all. I'm Shichi Li, the Deputy Executive Director of the Central Branch of ITRI. So it's my honor to be here to serve as the moderator. As we all know, in the area of innovation, materials is the foundation. With good materials, or with good materials for circulation, we can make the whole process a lot easier. But how can we circulate the materials, or how can we see the applications of the materials from the systematic perspective. I'm very pleased that we have invited two outstanding speakers to share with us their practical experience. We have Managing Director Tong and CEO Huang to share with us their insights and experiences in this area. And from the research perspective, I work at ITRI. This has been a very important issue for us. That is, in the process of industrialization, a lot of industries need to work together to be successful. So after their presentation, we would like to open the floor for questions and comments. We can talk about how we can further innovate materials and how we can create an ecosystem for our industry so we can join hands together. And I believe this is a wonderful opportunity so we can all contribute our efforts to make the world a better place. So that's my opening remarks. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Lee, for your opening. Please return to your seat. Next, we're going to invite our Managing Director, Dr. Jeffrey Tong of 3M Taiwan. Please welcome Managing Director Tong. Distinguished guests, good afternoon. It's my honor to be here to share with you my views on Earth Day. Our AIT officials have tried very hard to speak in Mandarin. So I feel I'm here speaking Mandarin. I think this makes my work a lot easier. So today I would like to share with you that when we talk about sustainability, in addition to the words we say, what kind of actions can we take? Because action speaks louder than words. Saying is easy, but taking actions is a lot of trouble because we have to think about the rising costs. We have to think about maybe we need to make changes. We have continued to pursue buying new phones. The speed of iteration is much faster, but these are actually great damage to sustainability. Well, I read some news reports. For example, we have delivered a lot of more new laptops or cell phones. Think about that, how many existing phones or old chargers you have at home. And these electronics, what do we do with them? These issues are the problems we have been thinking about in terms of material science. When we have crystal glass or the solar panel, how can we recycle them? How are we going to do with them when they become aging? In my own factory, we have a waste land. We decided that it should be a farm for our workers. Why? Without developing that piece of land, it's just a storage place for used toilets or used products, or it's just like a landfill. So without using that piece of land, you think about how many homes are being renovated and how many wastes have been created, like the waste concretes or kitchenware. Where do they go? How do we do with them? So when developing new materials, these are the problems we think about all the time. When talking about sustainability, we want it to be long-lasting, and we don't need to tear them apart and replace them all the time. So next, allow me to introduce myself. I'm responsible for the company's whole operation, but over my past 20 years of my experience, I work in the field of technology. So I have been devoted to material science. So in Taiwan, in the US, in Singapore, in Thailand, in China, I have worked in all these places, and my job was to develop new products, and I need to work with the local markets and understand the local needs. So for example, the planes or cars or electric vehicles, when there are new demands, I need to know about them and see what kind of materials can work the best. So in 2010 and 2011, we decided that we should build a completely new R&D center in Taiwan. The first concern was that we hope the technology center is a green building, and we want this green building to use the latest and mass production materials. We want to incorporate the new materials into the building. Also, we want to make the building useful and comfortable. It's not that we're showing. We really want to make the building comfortable. And of course, it can be too costly, so cost is another concern. So we were able to achieve that. So the green building received the LEED Gold Certificate, as well as the Diamond Level Green Building Certificate in Taiwan. So this is my first example. We've been talking about the rising housing prices, and it's more difficult for people to buy a place. If you want to buy a house, if you look around, you really want to do that before the housing prices become too high. But when you go to see these places, when you see the description, it always gives you a very rosy picture. For example, the description here, like it's like a mansion, a beautiful garden. You can enjoy the beauty of nature. You can see the beautiful flying roof, and it's a landmark. So these are the words I copied from these real estate advertisements, especially the first row by the river, open window, magnificent river view. So all these are beautiful. But in fact, if you look at the map of Taipei, you can see the greater Taipei area from Xingdian River to Dahan River. You can see all the way to the Jilong River. It's like going south to the north. So if you want to be on the first row of the river on the right, so you will have a lot of sun exposure. If you cross Zhong'an River from Xingdian River, in the afternoon, you can find very strong sun exposure in the afternoon. So with such strong sun exposure, you have open windows. So the water view will not be visible because you will close down the curtains. So people say, it's okay, I just need to close down the curtains so the sunlight will not directly go inside the room. Scientifically, there are three ways of insulation. One is radiation, the second one is conduction, and the third one is convection. So when closing down the curtain, it seems that the heat does not go in. But if you reach your hand back to touch the glass or the frame of the window, you can find them actually they're really hot. The heat still comes inside your room, but in a different form. So if we're going to live a comfortable life, then we would turn on the AC. And think about that. So facing the heat. So the heat comes from the sun for so many hours, maybe from 12 in the noon, maybe to 7 p.m. We still have the sunlight with such long sun exposure. And if you turn on the AC, we want to bring down the temperature, so how much energy we have to consume. What we can do is to buy a updated AC, but actually we still need to consume a lot of energy. So the realtor will say, it's all right, the glasses is the low E glass or what kind of fancy glass. We can have good heat insulation, and then they're going to give you a demonstration, saying that if you put your hand under, you can feel the temperature doesn't really change. So maybe like you can feel that 2 or 3 degrees change. But now think about that. Because of climate change, sometimes we have to experience maybe 40 degrees of Celsius. So if you want to bring it down to 27 or 28 degrees, you still need to bring down 10 degrees of Celsius. So think about how much electricity will be wasted on AC. And it's just about a glass. If your whole building is facing the river, so the whole structure is absorbing heat. So my colleagues, or some of my friends, if you have this kind of house, then you know that the walls are hot. So the roof is hot, the walls are hot. When the heat is giving out, you need to bring down the heat by turning on the AC. You can think about how much energy we have to waste. We spend a lot of money on a new house. You need to bring down close the curtains so that you don't have the direct sun exposure. So think about that. when we're building a house, if our only priority is to face the road or to face the river, rather than think about the right direction and its interaction with nature, then we definitely fall into the trap of creating a building that consumes a lot of energy. If the building has to face the river or the road, then we definitely will fall into this kind of trap. So this is one major reflection. Secondly, ventilation. When we look at a house, because of the area of the house, so it's hard to think about ventilation. Or once we decide on the direction, then all we can do is to finish building a house. So given a situation when we want to hang up our clothes, usually they don't get direct sunlight. So if the clothes are not dry, then we have to use the dryer. So dryer also consumes a lot of energy. They're just like a monster. So if the buildings are built side by side or face to face, so the bathrooms do not have windows. If you can open the windows in the bathrooms, then the realtor will tell you, we can have the AIC. So once you finish the shower, then you can turn on the dryer. Again, they run on electricity. So inside the buildings, we actually use more energy consuming electronics. The only solution is that we use the updated energy saving electronic products. In order to live a comfortable life, I mean, if we're living in a building facing the river or facing the road, then we cannot enjoy open windows and we have to use a lot of energy consuming electronic products. So that's the problem we face. Moving on. Next page, please. So that's another issue to think about. When you go to see these houses, we sometimes want to have a garden that that's actually the landscape, but that's the public facility. So when you see the grasses or you see the flowers, the landscape, does anyone tell you that this is a house which can store water? Actually, no realtor will tell you. So when we have the rain will be drained. It will only tell you that there will be no leakage. So there will be no leakage in a house. But the builders will never tell you, how can we store water inside a building? How is that relevant to them? It's not an issue for them at all. And recently, because of the most serious drought in the 50 years, I saw a piece of news a few days ago. Minister Wang of Economic Affairs went to Taichung to see a construction site. The construction site found that when it was digging down the basement, they found a lot of groundwater. So these underground water is pumped out and drained into the sewage, and then the water goes to the ocean. How many construction sites are there in Taiwan? What they do is to dig and to drain and then get rid of the underground water. We need to think about the fact that in Taiwan, we have a lot of rain, but we're not able to keep the water because our rivers are shorter and steeper. We can't really keep the water. But in fact, in Taiwan, we waste a lot of water. We are not making good use of the water. For example, the groundwater is just wasted. And after finding about the situation, so the construction worker asked the TSMC to process the groundwater so the water can be used by TSMC. So it's not drinking water, but the water from underground can be used for industrial use. So now the construction sites are trying to recycle the groundwater. This is because now we're having a drought, so we're doing that. But in normal times, I don't think people think about that. They would just get rid of the water and then drain it into the sewage. And what about our toilets in the households? Now we have a water-saving label. There are two colors. One is blue, the other is gold. So they're different. For the normal ones, the normal label, every flush consumes 12 liters of water. If you use the gold label toilet, it's an upgrade. So it only takes about 4.8 liters of water. So what about the difference if you do the math, so like if you count the gold label, it's like 5 liter. What's the difference between the first one and the second one? So it's 7 liters. For a family of 4, they flush the toilet maybe 10 times, right, a day. So maybe they don't flush. So 7 liters times 10, so 70 liters per day. And for a whole month, 30 days, so 7 liters times 30, so that's 2,100 liters. So what does that mean? So it's 2.1 tons of water per month for a household. So 2 tons per month, and 1 year it's 24 tons. Then you can save this much water. So we need to understand how much water. How many households are there, right? If your toilet is the traditional one, so for 1 year, you will consume an additional 24 tons of water per year. So this is something really daunting. And for many households, they have more than 1 toilet. Maybe they have 2 or 3 bathrooms or toilets. So you can think about how much more water they're going to consume. Moving on the right, all of the buildings in the tropical area, we should use light colors or light coating. Why light colors? This is because, why don't they like the light colors? Because they get dirty easily. So of the bridges in Taiwan, whenever there's rain or if you see the mold, they become gray or black. Then we need to send people to use the high pressure to clean it, or we just keep it dry. So washing the walls is another great source of water consumption. Or they can use the dark color coating. For example, the dark colored bricks or walls, then they absorb more heat. So that's another way of consuming the energy. So how can we keep the color light but keep them clean? So that's another problem. So this is what 3M is doing. In Yangmei, we built a building. So this is what it looks like. So you can see the sunlight. There's when the sunlight exposed, then you can see there are no windows. So we don't want the windows to be the access of the sunlight. And also you can see the light color, so it does not absorb the heat. And on top of it, we will have a coating on top of it, so it can insulate all of the dirt. So if there's rain, so the dirt on the wall will be gone. So the wall is always white and clean. Also on top of the roof, you can see it's slanted. So when there's rain, all of the water can be collected and be stored in the underground area in the basement area of the building. So we have an architect here. So for him, this is so easily. It's just about to do it or not to do it. This is a very small building, but we can save 664 tons of water underground. We can pump up the water to water the flowers. So in this design, of course, we also have a chimney and tower. In summertime, it absorbs the heat. So we can heat up the air, so the air goes up, so we can have the natural convection. In wintertime, on the tower, you can see a narrow gap. So in wintertime, strong wind blows, then we can have the negative pressure, so we also can maintain the convection naturally. In this way, we're able to reduce the energy consumption for the AC. So you can see we're trying really hard to combine the theory and practice. And we save water, save energy. They're put together. They're equally important. So this building is located in Yangmei. If you're interested, feel free to pay there a visit. And I think this is a wonderful example to show you how we can change the words into action. And we can make the building livable, comfortable. We can reduce the cost. So this is my presentation for you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Tong. As we all know, you can use materials to build greener buildings. And now let us move on to the next talker. This is a speaker, the CEO and co-founder Arthur Huang of MiniWiz. Please welcome Mr. Arthur Huang. Good afternoon. Thank you to Dr. Tong for your speech. I agree strongly with you. I think all of our building materials should be made like this. So next time you go house hunting, please remember what Dr. Tong has said and ask that your real estate agent look for houses that meet these requirements. So very quickly about MiniWiz, what we're focusing on has remained the same, and that is we need to move towards zero waste and beyond. There is no waste in nature. We need to live more in tune with nature. We have to move towards a circular economy and a more circular lifestyle. To be honest, we model ourselves after 3M. We call ourselves MiniWiz, and we aim to recycle materials, and we are an innovator in recycled materials. We've been in this industry for 16, 17 years, and we strive towards to be more like 3M. 3M is decades ahead of us, but it is what we aspire towards. As for MiniWiz's vision, this has remained the same. I used to hate sharing this slide. I don't want to lock ourselves in a certain position, but I've since discovered that people love to categorize and to stick labels on things. So it is very hard to understand what we're doing if I don't put a label on it. So this is why I put this slide right here. So right now, MiniWiz, it is a kind of a construction company that I can build a structure for you. I can build green buildings for you, buildings made out of waste, made out of trash. We are an ESG-oriented construction company. Over the past 16 years, we've built about 300,000 square meters of commercial space, and they are all made from upcycled waste. We use our own equipment and machinery to produce these materials. We use a lot of double-sided tape from 3M. But double-sided tape from 3M is very, very, very resilient. It's very hard to recycle things with 3M double-sided tape. That's the only dilemma. So very quickly, a look at what we've been doing the past couple of years.
To the sustainability of our community. At MiniWiz, it is our mission to change consumer behavior into a circular one. It is the only way for us as a species to sustainably consume our limited resources. Overconsumption is a complex system problem. There is no single miracle cure. We want to matter by proving human consumption can be satiated with our very own trash. We have dedicated ourselves to turning decades of environmental pollution into solutions that will enable us to live sustainably. We want to matter, so we turn ourselves into magicians of trash, inventing new ways of transforming our everyday trash into high-performance works of art. We turn milk packaging into the hottest sportswear fashion, plastic bottles into luxurious textile, cigarette butts into furniture and glasses. We want to matter, so we infiltrate the cities where the desire for luxury is cultivated. In Milan, in Berlin, in Beijing, in Taipei. We want to matter, so we design scalable technology, machines, softwares, utilizing the material and carbon footprint that we have already created. We research new ways to reuse trash, localized collection for turning waste into new products. To date, our lab has innovated over 1,200 new materials made from trash to unlock the upcycling potential of everyday waste, available in our cloud material database. We want to matter by giving our future generation hope. Please join us in this trash revolution against our own selfish inertia. Let's stop talking about the problem, take responsibility of our own action, and start doing. Because we all matter.
Alright, so.
Quick question for you all. I'll ask this in Chinese. Who here I'm sure everyone here cares greatly about the environment. Now, who here cares about polar bears? Who here cares about sea turtles, polluted beach fronts, and environmental warming? I encourage you to raise your hands. If you don't raise your hands, that means you don't care. Okay, so everyone here cares about all of these issues. Now, next is a self-reflection question. How many of you are wearing something made from recycled materials? Anyone? Can anyone raise their hands? I can raise my hand. I'm wearing something made from recycled materials. There's no one here. That's kind of sad. We need to start taking action, but no one has started taking action. This is the problem. We can do anything, but we are not doing anything right now. We know the problems that we are facing. Everyone is wearing consumer products. Nike is an American company. I don't want to make them look bad here, but every season, a lot of excess clothes are wasted. Luxury goods are even worse because luxury goods, they don't want these goods to end up in outlets to lower the price. So they are destroyed. So this is a lot of waste that is generated just in textiles and fashion. First of all, there is no such thing as single-use consumption in the world. Your plastic bottle can be reused again and again. It can be used for a very long time. There's no such thing as single-use. Face masks, they seem to be single-use products, but that's not true. It just starts to smell like your saliva after a while, but there's really no such thing as single-use products. These materials can all be reused. MiniWiz has been focusing on upcycling waste into building materials. We want to use local waste into buildings. There is something called scale match. There is so much trash, and we need to be able to use that trash into something, turn it into something. We cannot turn waste into one tiny cultural product because there is not enough scale in turning trash into small, cute, creative products. We need to use trash materials in a much larger scale. You can ask ITRI, you can ask 3M. Material science requires a lot of resources. You need at least 5 tons of resources to turn it into a new material. You need to collect 5 tons of a material. If you need to draw out, you need at least 3 points to draw out a 3D map or to identify the perimeter of a resource. So you need at least 15 tons to map out the parameters of a single resource. This certification process, the material of data of these materials are immense, and we need to collect a lot of that. We've been involved in a lot of placemaking projects. We work together with others to collect the material and turn it into things such as this. This is the Eco Arc. It was made from 1.5 million plastic bottles. It was built entirely out of plastic bottles. And we sourced all of the materials locally. We don't want any increased transportation costs. Everything has to be locally produced. We have a lot of clients. We have Nike, Starbucks, Philip Morris. These are all our clients. These are all international U.S. companies. They have storefronts all over the world. Nike headquarters in Portland and New York, their stores use recycled materials made out of PET bottles. These absorb noise. Nike stores all over the world adopt recycled materials. I want to say here that recycling is a sham. We are not really recycling. We're just collecting all of the waste. We are sorting the waste, but we are not converting these materials into new products. So that is why when I asked earlier if anyone was wearing something made from recycled materials, nobody raised their hands. And that is because we only collect 2 to 5% of the trash, but there is a lot of data that is missing in the marketplace. For instance, if today you want to turn a plastic bottle into an architectural, a building material, there's a lot of data missing. There are a lot of experiments are required. So over the past 16 years, we've been building a database to collect all of that information. Where you could say that MiniWiz is a construction company. We came up with this MiniWiz material database. This powers our machines, and this allows us to look into how materials can be transformed into new materials. So very, very quickly, 2020 to 2021 has been a very special year. We're all facing the COVID-19 pandemic. We've worked together with the Singapore government to set up a recycling mechanism that recycles PPE. So all of this waste, PPE, personal protective equipment, they're sterilized and then upcycled into new products. These can be further turned into level 2 or level 3 protective equipment. Anyone who knows materials know that protective equipment is made of water repellents. We need to have small factories that are able to make water repellent equipment. So plasma coating is key to water repellent. Now, how do you make the fabric strong enough? You need a lot of ultrasonic technology to strengthen all of the material. All of this technology exists in Taiwan, and that's why MiniWiz is here in Taiwan. I'm half Taiwanese and half American, so I can promote this in Taiwan and in the U.S. Another key focus this year for MiniWiz is hospital wards. We've used recycled materials into making them into hospital wards. We were unable to import waste material, so we used local waste in Taiwan and turned it into modular hospital wards. We worked together with Furen Catholic University. These wards are all negative pressure. They have to be antibacterial, antiviral. They are easy to clean, but we don't want to use 3M adhesive technology because 3M adhesive technology is too strong, because if we use that, we are unable to recycle these materials. These are modular wards, and we want to be able to set it up very quickly. And also you want to be able to customize it because of all of the pipes and the connections that are needed to set up these wards. We also want to make them customizable. We can turn these wards into ICU and customize it to different functions. This is a completed modular hospital ward. There's 100 of these in Furen Catholic University. CNN, a U.S. media company, just interviewed us on this project, and it will be out very soon. As you can see here, these are all modular. These are all antibacterial. These are mechanical pressing. We use recycled polypropylene and recycled aluminum. This also has to pass all of the testing by our Taiwan's construction agency as well as the U.S. federal agency. If we are able to turn waste into this level of use, we can really turn waste into anything. Another project that we've been focusing on is a decentralized recycling system. So here is a video of what we do around the world. And that'll be the end of my presentation.
To create the first mobile recycling line, the trash presso. Using press machines, shredders, ovens, and other industrial equipment, trash presso is able to recycle trash anywhere. While TP1 traveled around the world, MiniWiz developed a new generation of trash presso. A modular system with a smaller footprint for easier transportation and higher energy efficiency. With a new system of heat induction presses and specific molds for different parts, the process has become faster and more efficient.
3M glove in there.
The new trash presso complements Robin, MiniWiz's smart trash collection system. We will track every single piece of your trash from the moment you throw it away till the time we put it back in the game. Furthermore, new Trash Presso can be upgraded with a robot arm that will do the dirty job.
We basically direct 直接把那个
Over here we turn waste on beaches into a new material in 3 minutes, a brand new product in 3 minutes with Trash Presso. This is a forging process. There's no secondary pollution with our Trash Presso. When you look into a processing of turning waste into new materials, there's a lot of additional pollution. But with Trash Presso, there is no VOC. We have a volatile organic compound detector. If there is VOC released, then the machine will shut down. If this is normal plastic, we can use other technology to process it. We are thermoforming, or we're using pressure to reform these materials. There's 125 pop per centimeter. This is called a Trash Presso. We use mechanical measures to create strong materials. The rest are just pretty pictures of past projects that we've conducted, what kind of products we make out of waste. This just gives you a picture of the breadth of our work, of the things that can be done with waste. The tape here for the fabric that is used in this video is made by 3M. This is 100% recycled polyester, and it's bonded together, and it turns into an inflatable mechanical structure. I'm an advocacy on one end. I love and I hate 3M. They make things more convenient, but it also makes it more difficult to recycle. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm really impressed by the presentation and the results, and I think I really have learned a lot. So now let's move on to the Q&A session. For those of you in the floor, if you want to raise your questions, then you can submit your questions on Slido. You can see the QR code. So you can scan the QR code. If you have any questions, please scan the QR code with your smartphone and then enter the Slido system, and you can type in. So please enter 2021422, the date of today. So our moderator will also ask the questions on your behalf. So now we would like to move on to our first panel discussion on materials and innovation. We would like to welcome back to the stage Dr. Shichi Li of ITRI. Also, we would like to welcome Managing Director of 3M, Dr. Jeffrey Tong, and CEO of Miniwiz, Mr. Arthur Huang, to come up to the stage. Dr. Li, I saw you're really fascinated by the presentation, so I think you must have a lot of questions, right? So we would like to hand over the microphone to Dr. Li. In the first session, I think that was really marvelous. I was really pleased to learn because there are things that I cannot do over the past decades because the environment in the past was different and the society has been changing. So from the energy and water conservation in the buildings, I remember in 1994 I started to launched a label for water conservation. When we talk about conserving water in the past, people would ask, what was that? Was it the advertisement from the water company? But now when we talk about water conservation, everyone all agrees because without water, we cannot take showers. So I'm very pleased to learn new insights from our two speakers. So in the beginning, I told you that from the perspectives of materials, how can we achieve recycling? And how can we help promote recycling and conservation? I have a question for both of our speakers. Now, we have been thinking about a question that is beyond 2030 or beyond 2020. We have set a goal that is to achieve net zero carbon emissions, or in from the perspective of circular economy. From the management perspective of companies, what can we do more to help us achieve these goals? Do you have any suggestions? Maybe we can start from Mr. Huang. So you're asking what are the measures that have been taken that can be in line with the 2030 or 2050 goal in the future? I think there must be bans on the use of single-use products. I think in Taiwan, I think the Taipei City government is really brave because it has banned the use of disposable products. I think no other government in the world has the guts to do that. But recently, when I went to the stores around Taipei City government, you not only do not get to use the disposable products, but you need to show your ID in exchange for a glass or a cup. And Taipei citizens do not complain. The citizens in Taipei are actually quite supportive. They're all on board. I think the culture will shift quickly. But during the process of shifting, if people are already aware, but if you give them single-use products, then I don't think they can sell. You can see the example of H&M because the numbers of their sales continue to go down because they're fast fashion. And I think when the number goes down up to a point, then we know that that shows the improvement of the environmental products. We have some questions related to these issues. So when we're promoting circular economy, we have learned an important concept. That is, when we talk about circular economy, the key word is economy. When we talk about recycling, after recycling the products, we don't really use them. But one key of circular economy is that after recycling, we need to add value to the recycled product so the value actually goes up. So that's the greatest contribution of circular economy. So throughout the process, you talk about a ban on the use of single-use products. So when the companies are going into the field, they have to think about how can they transform their products into materials for recycling again so that they can increase their value. So I think some people raise similar issues. For example, the price is low, the use of the certain product is low. How can we further promote the recycling? I think if the supply is limited, then the materials will become more expensive. Then people will cherish the materials. I think that is more in line with our understanding of environmental protection because now people are using the products without, they think the raw materials are without limit, but actually they're limited. What about Mr. Tong? Allow me to share with you one example. I think now you have LCD televisions at home, right? If you see a line on the screen, if the screen is not working, what do you do with the TV? Maybe you may call the company, and then they send their people there. After examination, they think you should replace the whole panel, and they tell you it costs you about the money, the price of a new TV. And then you give a second thought. You may think about, oh, I should maybe get a new television. It's even cheaper. When I was younger, I remember we asked people to repair the washing machine. But now for your phones or for the monitors, if they're broken because they're so cheap, would you like to really fix them? No one wants to fix the products because you can get the new one that's faster. So what Arthur mentioned gives us the reflection. When the prices of products are too low, people do not cherish them. So should we go to this way? In our education in Taiwan, we have talked about cutting down the costs. The business owner would say, oh, our strength is that we can cut down the cost, and the consumers are happy because you can buy the consumer products at a low price. But is this the right thing to do? Because people do not cherish and people do not recycle because they're so cheap. They don't want to recycle the products. It's not valuable. Secondly, science. As a material supplier, we also want to use recyclable products. But you may hear our R&D staff telling us, first, recycled products are more expensive than the raw materials. And secondly, the strength of the recycled products are not stable because they cannot be durable enough because they may break easily. And the third one, recycled products have higher impurities. So overall, R&D staff prefer to use the raw materials because they're safer, they're cheaper, and they do not complain. And the third one, people would say we have the products that contain water, meaning other products may contain solvent. For example, we have, like in a paint, maybe they may give off VOC, so we prefer the products that contain water. When we produce the tapes, you can use solvent or water products. So people say we don't want to use the products that contain solvent. We should use the products that contain water. But after putting on the coating, we need to wait for it to dry. But because we use the water-based glues, so we need to use more heat to dry the glue. So overall, what is better for an environment? Which option is better? So as scientists, we have to think further. I would like to respond. And when talking about a trend, first, you need to make the right judgment. We need to have a fair and square standard. Actually, there are such standards like ISO 14000 LCM. We can follow the standard. My apologies. In the United States, in the beginning, they also wanted to do that, but later, they just quit for a long time. So at the end of the day, how much energy does the material cost and how poisonous is that? But who is willing to be really honest or like to show whatever good or bad things they have done? No one wants to do that. We cannot be bluntly honest with the consumers. So I still have a question mark on the so-called trend. But with a fair and square standard, the first thing is that you have to be completely honest. But the issue is that the business cannot be completely honest. Allow me to be straightforward. Because when talking about all of the recycling products, a very important aspect is that how much energy you have consumed or how much more resources you have used to create these recycled products, and then you tell me it's environmental friendly. We have to weigh in the pros and cons. When I was a student, our professors told us that do not prove that basketballs are bigger than baseballs. For something you already know, this is how things work. Do not use scientific methods to prove what is already known. Keep things simple. If you're going to recycle the products and use it there, if you can create a maximum value, then just do it. Then You don't think about, well, I want to do recycling, I want to achieve my goal, then I do that. So I think if we keep things simple, then it's easier for us to achieve the goal of cutting carbon emissions and conserving energy. I think throughout the process, many people have raised their questions. I have raised my question. Many people have asked, well, we have conducted a lot of recycling. The cost is higher than using the raw materials, and I need to use more human resources, but how am I going to resolve the problem? So I think Mr. Huang just told us that we have a standard. It's up to me. The scientists have to prove that this is workable. So the government should be brave enough to set up the standards. When we have the standards in place, the companies have to work together to follow the standards to create materials and to provide them to the customers. So in the very beginning, I also mentioned that when it comes to recycling or net zero carbon emission, we cannot just do it by one person. And I think our two speakers are icons in their respective industries, but whether your products can be used by me or if I think you can help me and that I can revise or improve my materials, then I can create new materials and then I can make it into the recycling cycle. And I think this is how we create an industry or a supply chain. We still have some time, right? So we have one more question. So the question from the audience is that Mr. Huang mentioned that when it comes to the waste in the ocean, marine litter, or when you go to different people, maybe you will create a carbon footprint. What about the market? I think this is a very straightforward question. What about the market for the recyclable products? So going back to what I said before, Miniwiz is an architecture firm. So for me, if I'm going to build a house on a construction site, I can bring my machine on site to use the materials locally, and then I can build a house right there or build the things there. So you can see the experiment I showed, whether we went to the Himalayas or remote places. We went to these important places, but for people, these are remote areas. But for us, they are of important significance to us environmentally. For example, we went there to build schools or shopping malls. Of course, there are commercial values. Otherwise, my company will not survive. So the commercial value is that I have the technology, but I source my own materials locally. So I think 3M has been developing some futuristic materials under the SDGs. Then I think you're definitely trying to achieve the goal. So maybe Managing Director Tong can share a bit more. As mentioned by Arthur, when they built the hospitals, they could not use the double-sided tape from 3M because they're super adhesive, super sticky. Well, then I need to tell you, you should not use this kind of tape. We have other alternative tapes that can be reused again, so you can use other products. Now you can place the order immediately. So it's our fault. We didn't really do a good job in introducing our wide range of products. I think when using the right products, that's the key. I would like to share with you another example. Many years ago, when we tried to develop the water conservation facility for the houses. For example, in the past, we flushed. With one flush, it cost 20 liters, and now 12 liters. So we have the two ways of flush. For example, when we promoted that in school, we really want to save the water. But for the two-phase toilet, flush toilet, we install them both in a male's and female, in the ladies' room and the men's room. Why do we need the two-phase flushing toilet? What do guys do inside? When they go in go inside a compartment, definitely they will like go inside and do their business. So we have to think about where we can maximize the benefit of the products. We need to use the resources at the right place so that we can achieve the goals. So this is just a story we just want to share with you. Because for guys, if they go inside to the compartment, they do their business. So they definitely need to flush the two handles together. So I think when it comes to the innovation of materials, I think what we want to do is to maximize their benefit. All right, once again, thank you to our moderator and our two panelists. So we would like to have a photo call for our three speakers. So please remove your facial mask and then we can take a quick photo. This is our annual event and we are deeply honored to have the opportunity to invite our experts and industrial representatives to share with us their insights. Then we can learn that materials and innovation can open up more possibilities and add more values. Please look at the cameras in the front. All right, thank you very much. Please return to your seat. Once again, a round of applause to our speakers. I believe we all have learned a lot. I think later a lot of audience here would like to know more about the speakers. So that's the reason why we have invited these outstanding speakers, because we want to open up more opportunities for cooperation.
And now let's move on to the second topic of today, digital transformation to net zero future. Many industries are employing digital technology in different ways. And next up, let me first welcome the moderator of this session, Dr. Ling Yufan from the Institute for Information Industry, III.
No question. 我们这里
There's no question about it. We ban single-use products. For ICT, it has to be repeatedly used, be used again and again. The next topic is a bit different. This is towards a net zero future, and ICT is helping. So for my opening, I would like to make one brief point. This was brought up about a year ago. I call it PPPP, 4 Ps. If we had a forum then we would already know that by 2030, Taiwan will face a couple of major challenges. The first one is a very aging society and also changes in how we learn. And under digital transformation, we can see that industries must innovate. And then there's also international environment and also international transparency. The fifth challenge here relates to all of us. By 2030, Taiwan will face shortage in resources, and we will need to make ourselves more resilient. If we can employ local partners, we can reduce carbon emissions. And it could also spur cultural development in those regions. I think everyone has to start thinking about design thinking. When I'm doing these kinds of energy conservation methods, what problems am I solving? This is a reference, and I think these are problems that the speakers will touch upon. The next speaker is from Microsoft, a company I admire. Microsoft has done a lot in its journey towards net zero. And then there is also Dr. Kelly Ke from Delta Electronics. Dr. Ke is a woman, and she is a very outstanding expert in this area. I think low-carb technology is built into Delta's DNA. Now, Delta and Microsoft have launched a partnership to move towards these goals. So let me turn it over to them now. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Lin. And now let us welcome with a warm round of applause Mr. Vincent Shi, General Manager of the CELA team at Microsoft. All right, let me remove my face mask I'll be able to breathe better. Thank you to Dr. Lin. I am very honored to be here today to attend this forum. I think the first session was very exciting. There's a lot of interesting topics touched upon. Now, the previous session talked about materials or the more tangible stuff, things that you can see and touch. And then this session will change focus a little bit. We'll still be able to see these, but it's less tangible. Now, for Microsoft, we are focusing on digital transformation. And as Dr. Lin mentioned in her remarks, I'll have 20 minutes to talk a bit about Microsoft's journey in digital transformation. This goes back to what Dr. Tong mentioned of 3M in his talks. We don't just talk the talk, we also take action, and we'll be telling you about all of our achievements over the past few years. All of this is based on data. Because of time constraints, let me move on very quickly. Now here, this is directly related to our event today. This 3-day event focuses on sustainability, so I will start here. A net zero economy. You can't see digital technology, you can't touch it. There's no problem of single use here because data can be used again and again. ICT can help, can contribute towards sustainability and address some of the most pressing issues. This morning, this book was mentioned. I'm not trying to sell these books right now. We have no revenue from Bill Gates' new book, but this year he actually published a new book. This is titled How to Avoid a Climate Disaster. In February, the Chinese translation was published. I think you'll be able to find these books in your bookstores. This is relatively new, and on the right over here, this is, you can see here, what we're facing is a planet-sized challenge. Now, I know that COVID-19 has disrupted all of our lives. It has wreaked havoc in the world. And I'm sure you've seen there's been a resurgence of Bill Gates' TED Talk back in 2015. He said then that the biggest risk to humanity would no longer be a nuclear threat. Nuclear war is scary, but even scarier is the possibility of a global pandemic. This will be a huge problem, and it came true in 2020. Now, he says in his book, he talks about in his book how to use data and ICT technology to identify the issues. Last year, in the beginning of 2020, when COVID-19 was at its peak, Bill Gates proposed in his blog then that COVID-19 is disrupting our lives. It has brought about a lot of inconvenience, negative impacts to our economy. But he said in his blog last year that if we do not tackle climate change, then in the next 5 to 10 years, we'll face even bigger problems, much bigger than COVID-19, if we do not tackle climate change. With regards to climate change, this challenge, how does Microsoft go about addressing it? How do we help people address it? Now back to, and this goes back to digital transformation, something we've been focusing on the past few years, both within our own company, where we've made strides, but we are also focusing on helping others through ICT and through data to help everyone tackle the issue of climate change. So we look at this from different perspectives. Some of the most basic principles, we need to frame this issue in the right way, and this is touched upon in Bill Gates' new book. This is a very serious problem, climate change, and we need to address it. Some people are pessimistic and say there's no hope. There's 51 billion carbon emissions each year. How do we get rid of that? He mentions in the book, being carbon neutral is no longer enough. Microsoft is striving to be carbon negative by 2030. We can't just stay neutral in terms of carbon emissions. We have to take even more aggressive action to reduce the amount of carbon in the air to become carbon negative. These are all very pressing challenges, and to address that, we have to go back to data. We also have to ensure transparency. In the earlier conversation, Arthur Huang mentioned that nobody is willing to own up to what they're actually doing. So today, we have to make sure things are transparent. We need to face the naked truth. Every company, every industry, they need to squarely face the carbon emissions that they make. You have to make all of this information transparent, put this information on the crowd so that it is accessible by all, so that we can then utilize tools and solutions to address that. When we are aware of the emissions, we can then take measures to address it. Now, this should all be on the cloud instead of localized servers, because with cloud you can reduce a lot of carbon emissions. All of this is traceable. You can generate reports to prove the emissions that you have reduced. Buildings that employ energy conservation technology can be reflected in all of these reports. Single-use products will be banned in the future. And ESG as a concept, as a principle, has become a worldwide consensus. In the future, H&M, for example, may pay even more attention to environmentalism. If H&M cannot prove that it employs environmental technology and also environmentally friendly materials, H&M might not be as competitive. It might face even more stringent standards in the future. Now, all of this relies on making data transparent, making all of this information transparent and available to all. Exactly how much emissions are being emitted by different industries and different vendors in the manufacturing chain. Now, President Tsai earlier in her remarks earlier this morning stressed that this requires partnership. This requires teamwork for us to resolve this issue. No one can face this alone. No one industry can solve this issue. You are all here today representing different companies, different industries. You might be from the ICT industry or traditional industries. The important thing is we need to all work together to face this challenge of climate change. We should at least start from making data more transparent and accessible. Now, as for Microsoft's principle and our measures, this is mentioned in Bill Gates' book and is also incorporated in Melinda Gates' Foundation. We take a principled approach. We need to segment the challenge. We need to break it down into different parts, and we have to use transparent data to find the most effective solution. I will talk a bit about what Microsoft is doing internally, how we use innovation and investment, as well as new solutions to tackle the climate change challenge. We also enlist our own employees to get involved in this effort because this requires teamwork. So we're taking action, we are making investments, we're also innovating. Internally, we are using digital transformation to remove carbon. We are trying to move towards carbon negative emissions, and we also want to empower our partners. We're all here today. This is a 3-day Earth Day event, and the government has made clear commitments as well. So this requires a team effort. Over here on this page is Microsoft's sustainability strategy. It is all centered on our employees. We got to start with ourselves. We have to start with employees at Microsoft, their ideas. So we provide them solutions, provide them tools so that our employees feel empowered to take action. We give them the products, we give them tools to use. And then there's also policy, operations, products and services, and customers and partners. And on the most outer circle are the 4 areas that Microsoft is targeting. So carbon emissions, water use, the ecosystem, and also waste. These are the 4 major areas that we are focusing on. So very quickly, because of time concerns, I won't go into very much detail. If you are interested, you can view all of this on Microsoft's website. We just recently released the newest sustainability report on our website. Right now, all of these are very clear goals that we've committed to, and we have very clear plans in place to take us towards that goal, which is to be carbon negative by 2030, and by 2050, by 2050, we've committed to removing all of the historical carbon emissions that Microsoft has emitted since the founding in 1975. We are taking all manners to erase the carbon footprint. This is a more detailed graph on our approach to being carbon negative by 2030. The red portion is Microsoft's operational carbon emissions. The blue ones represent Microsoft and its supply chain carbon emissions. So we have to work with our value chain partners and all of our vendors. We need to work together to be able to reach the end goal. As for the ecosystem, we are working on building a planetary computer. This is a project that is ongoing. We want to collect information on how land is used. We want to collect critical information about that usage. Now, this planetary computer it's not a physical computer or a machine. The planetary computer uses cloud technology to collect information on carbon emissions as well as the use of land all over the world. We want to collect all of that data. I only have 5 minutes left to cover 10 slides, so I'll have to speak quickly here. So by 2030, we also want to reach zero waste. This is our goal for 2030. We don't want to generate any waste by that time. And internally, we are taking action. So within Microsoft offices, there are no longer any single-use products. All of the, for instance, cups, they can be used again and again. Water is another focal point. We want to be water positive by 2030. We want to replenish more water than we consume. So because of time, here is a very quick view of Microsoft service hardware factories. Because of time, I'll skip this part. Maybe I will share that at a later opportunity, some of the efforts that Microsoft is taking. So now on the policy side, I talked about international efforts at Microsoft, efforts on a global scale. But here in Taiwan, the government has set a very ambitious goal, and that is by 2025, we want to increase the share of renewable energy. We also set up the very first renewable energy certification center here in Taiwan, and Microsoft is very supportive of that. In the future, any energy used by Microsoft offices or any energy used by Taiwanese companies have to be renewable in the future, and we will certify that the renewable energy through the TREC Center that has just been established. There are a lot of local efforts to address climate change. For example, we have a partnership with Delta. Dr. Kelly Ko will talk about that later. government is taking action to spur innovation. We have an innovative company that deals with waste. As for global efforts, so here is the 2020 Environmental Sustainability Report. We announced our goal to be carbon negative last year in 2020. We want to erase all carbon emissions by 2050. So we've made a lot of achievements over the past year, and all of the information is available on these links here. So as these goals were announced last January, this is a 100+ page report. It looks at all of the strides that we have made in terms of becoming carbon negative, water positive, zero waste, or ecosystems. This is a long-term journey that we're on, and this recently published report reflects the progress that we've made over the past year. So how can Microsoft help customers and partners? How can we enable an ecosystem? It's outlined here on this slide. So over here, the first step is to be green by default. So in all of our products and all of our services, they have to have built-in benefits that are inherent in all our products and services. Our cloud technology, the agile solutions that Microsoft provides are green by default. So you can rest assured there. The second part is accelerating progress. We'll be introducing new tools, new solutions. We have a Microsoft sustainability calculator that can tell you how much emissions you're cutting down on by using our cloud solution. The third one is transform business models. We are looking towards co-innovating with other partners to create new products, sustainably designed products. There was a very good example of using AI to recognize or identify waste earlier that was mentioned. We have similar solutions, and we very much welcome more of such ideas in the future that employs Microsoft's technology and Microsoft's cloud solution so that we can bring these sustainable technological solutions to life. We are working to enable that environment by providing all of the tools. So here is the sustainability calculator. No matter where you store your information on our cloud solution, you will be able to calculate exactly how much emissions you've reduced by using our sustainability calculator. It can generate all kinds of reports. And so with this, we hope that we can enable our customers and our partners the ability to meet sustainability goals. And we hope that you can meet it by using Microsoft's platforms and technological tools by using data. The last one is just an example of a local partnership. This is Chase Environmental Technology. Chase is a company that deals in waste. I think this is commendable. Many people think that waste processing companies are traditional industries, and people generally have a more negative impression about companies that deal in waste. But this company uses the latest technology in chasing waste and waste processing. Here is our conclusion. Microsoft is committed to harnessing the power of technology to help everyone, everywhere, to build a more sustainable future. We are committed to enabling everyone with the technology to move towards a more sustainable life and a sustainable development. ICT can help, Taiwan can help, and Microsoft can help.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vincent Shi from Microsoft, for your presentation. I think he speaks really fast. That also shows his enthusiasm and sharing his knowledge and expertise to all of us. And I believe that in our Q&A session, we can hear more from him. Next, we're going to welcome Ms. Dr. Kelly Ko, Delta Electronics Vice President and General Manager of Corporate Strategic Business Development and Alliance. Please welcome Dr. Ko. Our moderator, dear partners, Kevin and Mr. Lin, Vincent, good afternoon. Today, on behalf of Delta, we are very honored to be invited by ITRI and our organizer. And here we would like to share with you what Delta has done. This year marks the Delta's 50th anniversary. It was founded by Mr. Bruce Cheng. It was founded in 1971. We started from Taiwan, and now we have deployed globally. Very importantly, in addition to our efforts in power system and brushless DC fans, as well as the power systems ICT, we have provided a wide range of solutions and products, and we have been playing a leading role over the years. You can see this is the mission of Delta Electronics. That is, we would like to provide innovative, clean, and energy-efficient solutions for a better tomorrow. You can see on this slide, this is our solar plant in Japan. It was built by Delta Electronics. In addition to the solar power plant, the whole power system and the ESS, energy saving system, have used the Delta's solutions. We also work with the Kansai power plant. We can charge the power to the grid. So we started out from Taiwan. We also have set foot around the world. We have 289 offices around the world. And in terms of building, we have, or more, maybe in one destination, we have many factories or offices. So now we would like to share with you our corporate culture. You can see the keywords, change, and also sustainability. So when we first established our company, our founder, Mr. Bruce Cheng, already decided on promoting the corporate culture of change and sustainability. And just recently, these two keywords have become very important topics. In Delta, we have saved a lot of energy, and these solutions came from our R&D centers in 75 countries. We have over 9,000 engineers. They have continued to develop the R&D solutions in saving energy and providing green solutions. Also, Delta has received a lot of global awards. Now I would like to briefly introduce our products. They're closely related to our lives. From what you can see, actually data is immersed in your life. In the morning, we talked about the buildings. Delta has the smart building solution and the smart manufacturing solutions. Also in the morning, we talk about the fans, right? Inside the buildings, in the bathrooms, Delta, we manufacture the residential fans. So in a lot of buildings inside a residence, you can find the Energy Star certified fans manufactured by Delta. In addition to the dryer and cooling and heating fans and everything. So you can see we have tapped into a wide range of areas, and also our power component parts, for example, in a power chuck, in your phone, and a heat sink. So I think we account for 60 or 70% of the market share. As for the power source, Dr. Lin said that ICT can help, or she talked about the importance of the ICT. The largest cloud provider in the world, whether it's Amazon or Microsoft or Alibaba or Tencent or Baidu, all these major cloud providers have used the solutions provided by Delta in their data center. For example, we have the rack or the cooling system. We have the precision cooling system. We We also recently worked with Microsoft on a project. All of the data centers under Microsoft, what did they do in the past? They did the air conditioning cooling. Later, people started to say, we can have the fresh air cooling. And next, people started talking about we can have the water cooling, we have the water pipes, and so on. And up until now, even 3M is doing the immersive cooling. And now we work with Microsoft on real door heat exchange cooling, so we can discharge the heat, so the heat does not need to go inside the data center. It does not need to go inside the aisle of the building. So this is a very new technology, and we have completed the design with Microsoft, and we have completed the deployment. We also have the industry and building automation solutions and energy infrastructure solutions and the grids. A very important point is that when we look at the grids, now on the slide, Delta, we also have the VVK, VVTech, we have the grid solutions. If you go to Disney, or if you go to the Traditional Art Center in Yilan or the Science Museum in Taichung, you can see the outdoor projections, or in the Chiang Kai-shek Memorial Hall, we have outdoor concerts. We also provide the solutions to these partners. So we have the industry automation solution, we have the building automation solution, we have the data center solutions, and on the bottom, you can see we also have the telecom power solutions. Delta is the largest provider for telecom power solutions for AT&T or Verizon or Chunghwa Telecom or Far EastNet or Taiwan Mobile. They all work with us, and we're the biggest telecom provider. And also for the energy infrastructure, for the renewable energy, whether it's inverters or grid or storage solutions, we all have these solutions. Also, we have the charging stations for electric vehicles. Most of the charging stations of the electric vehicles, we account for a large percentage in terms of the solution. And I would like to share with you what we have done around the world. A very important thing is that in the Scandinavia and also in Western Europe, we have provided BC to DC chargers. We have also provided the one-to-many solutions at the peak hours, or if you really need to have emergency use of the power, the grid and charging station can actually provide power to your buildings. They do not just provide power to the vehicles. I think in the future, when reusing the energy, this solution will play a very important role. Also, on the right, you can see there are a lot of examples, like in Jiayi Station, the traditional gas station is turned into a charging station. In Japan, Yokohama, we work with the gas station in Japan. Now, if you go there to charge, if you go to the charging station there, Japanese people are so polite. They're just afraid that maybe they're hogging the charging station. Maybe they park their car for the whole day. They're not moving their car after charging, so no one else can use that. Japanese people hopes that once when the power is full, you should be notified, and then you can move away your car. We also have this application, this new solution. When you come to the charging station, then you will get an e-ticket. You can go to the cafe next door, and then when the power is fully charged, then you will receive a notification. Then you can come out and then drive away your car. So I think this will be very efficient. Otherwise, you don't know when the car is fully charged. So I think that's the new solutions we provide for the charging stations. And of course, we have more. For example, the lighting for the airports, Delta has been providing all these solutions. And most street lighting systems around Taiwan, like the LED street lights, I think Delta has worked a lot. So that's the one-to-many lighting solutions provided by Delta. I also want to show you a video. So could you please play the video for me? Thank you. Can you hear the video? So you can see we have the robotic arms and HEV. We have solutions in these areas. We also provide BC to BC charging service. So I would like to show you our solutions in energy. You can see in terms of smart building, what do we have? We have the surveillance solutions. You may wonder, what are they? What are the surveillance solutions? I don't think people can go abroad now, but when you enter or go out of the customs, you can see we have the passport examination system. So Delta also acquired the company producing this system. So in terms of the surveillance and facial recognition, we also have related solutions. As Vincent mentioned before, Bill Gates just published a new book. Bill Gates is someone I truly admire. I worked in Microsoft for 15 years. In 1991, I joined Microsoft. So that was really a long time ago. Even that was before the Windows. I already joined Microsoft, so I saw how Bill Gates led Microsoft to new heights. What I admire about Microsoft is because it's a company that respects gender equality. I admire Bill Gates in that because he follows the company policy just like all of the employees. Allow me to share with you a story. I once received a special chairman award from Bill Gates. I was in the Superdome. Bill Gates would only select one employee around the world, and Bill Gates would be waiting for the recipient on the stage. I was the only recipient. I didn't show up. He expected that someone would come up to the stage on the Superdome to give a speech. But then, no one was there. He waited for me for 10 minutes on the stage. So, I didn't show up. Why not? I really didn't show up because one of my colleagues was unwell. My colleague was dizzy. So we took the colleague to the hospital for medical treatment. But in the past, they wouldn't let us know who received the awards. So what did I change? What kind of change did I bring to the award ceremony? Later, they decided that they will tell the recipient prior to that, then they would take the recipient to the hotel and they would keep the recipient in the backstage to wait. Later, I didn't receive any penalty. Well, Bill Gates didn't get mad at me, not because I didn't show up. So I think he's really a wonderful leader. I think when talking about change, our founder, Mr. Bruce Chang, is also an admirable person, also our current CEO and COO. Our COO, Mr. Simon Chang, is an interesting person. Mr. Simon Chang, he encouraged change inside Delta. So he said that he's Mr. not just Chang, he's Mr. Change. So he add an E in his last name. So it's all about change. So internally, Delta encourages change. We want to change our products. We want to change our processes. Also, under the leadership of our CEO, Mr. Ping Chang, he is a good example. He organized the Delta Smart Manufacturing meeting every month to improve our performance. We want to achieve the high mix, low volume production. And also, we want to digitalize our services. During the process of transformation toward digitalization, we want everyone to keep things simple, reasonable, standardized, modular, and also automatic, digital, virtual, and smart. We have worked with Microsoft on HoloLens, and also we work with Far EastNet on the 5G smart factory. So I think this is a very important aspect. Do not digitalize the complicated process. It will only get more complicated. The first thing is that you need to simplify the process. In terms of our factories, we have a lot of solutions. I want to draw your attention to the material storage MES solutions. On top of that, I want to talk about the energy system and warehouse management. In terms of the management for the plant, we manage not only the efficiency of our manufacturing processes, our CEO also attaches great importance to energy management and also warehousing, or you can say facility management. Later, I can share with you more details. So this is very important. In the past, we only look at the ROI, return on investment, whether we can scale up. But now, recently, Delta focuses more on whether we can achieve smart manufacturing, whether we can build the grids. Also, quickly, I would like to share with you that when talking about smart manufacturing, what are the solutions? In addition to what you see on the slides, a very important thing is that when it comes to energy management, we have the HVAC system. We also have the waste and also water treatment. All these are very important. So under leadership of our CEO, Mr. Ping Zhang, and also our COO, Mr. Simon Zhang, we use the PLC, our production value per person has increased by 3 to 5 times, and our production capability increased by 20%. And the utility use area is down by 35%. So that you can see how we have improved our energy use. So Delta also tries to follow the UN SDGs. We want to be in line with these objectives so that we can achieve sustainable development. So in terms of the corporate governance, we want to maintain stable management. We think about how to implement it in our corporate culture. For Delta, I think for Microsoft, for example, when talking about the drinking water cups, we give the mug to our employees, and inside factories or inside the companies, we have the Dante Cafe. You cannot get the paper cups. You have to bring your own mugs or cups. And for visitors, you will get a mug, but you need to return it after use. And also in terms of the utensils, we give the employees the utensils. For example, you need to bring your own chopsticks to the cafeteria so that we can cut down the single-use products so we can be more environmental friendly. In addition, we try to be in line with the SDGs, but in terms of the data centers, manufacturing, and production, we have a committee continuously reviewing our efforts of ESG. We have a lot of products related to green energy, and the most important thing is that we have continued to take care of our employees. Our founder pays a lot of attention to taking care of the employees and education. So we have a MOOC system. We have a lot of environmental education materials there, and we have a lot of volunteers. They may go to the remote areas to educate the children so that we can share with them our experience in conserving energy. So in Delta, we mean business. We're the first company in Taiwan that includes climate change report in our CSR or our financial annual reports. Also, based on a scientific method, we have continued to try to be in line with these objectives. That is, we lead by example every day. In Delta, we have an elevator system. When you take the elevator, it goes up or down. There has to be a force to support. Otherwise, the elevator will fall down. So it requires power. So when taking the elevators up and down, so this power can be stored. So this is a recharging system for the elevator. So if you're interested, this is also a wonderful solution. Due to the time constraints, allow me to quickly tell you our energy online system, for example, the Delta Center energy conservation system for our factory. So we have one system that gives us the visibility for all of the data centers or the factories around the world. In addition to power consumption, we also are committed to conserving water and cutting down the waste. So when promoting the smart building, so the water can be recycled down to the basement and they can be treated and recycled. Also, we have the recycle system in the bathrooms. So from 2010 to 2019, we have continued to help our global customers to save energy. So we have conserved 31.4 billion kilowatt hours of electricity and cut down 16 million tons of carbon dioxide. So globally, around all of the buildings we have, you can see we all received the LEED certificate. And our data center, one thing special about our data center is that we have also received the gold certificate under LEED. Our data center in Taipei received the platinum certificate. We're the only data center around the world that received the platinum LEED certificate because we have so many requirements to meet, for example, from the PUE and also the water or waste recycle requirements. We have to meet all of the standards. And we are also grateful that we have received a lot of awards from around the world. For example, Dow Jones, DJSI, or CDP. So this is the founder of Delta Electronics, Mr. Bruce Chang. I truly admire him. He said that we can never forget that how can we use the expertise and ability of the company to contribute to the society. So I really respect him. So that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you to Dr. Kelly Ke. And now let's move on to the Q&A session. So let's have our staff move to the front of the room here. You can scan this QR code to raise questions on Slido. You can ask anything about the content that was just covered, about the speech. If you are prompted for a password, just enter the date of today, 2021-422. So now let's welcome back to the stage Dr. Lin of III, General Manager Vincent Shi, as well as Dr. Kelly Ke of Delta. Now, one round of applause. Technical question first. We need to keep our masks on, right? Okay, we only have 13 minutes left. So why are we on stage today? Not because we're all doctors, but because we are all engaged in digital transformation. There's 4 C's to digital transformation. The first one is connect. In the future, everything will be connected, and this will have to be enabled by ICT. So for connection, we need Microsoft and Delta. And the second one is collecting all of the data and identifying the value. The third one is controlling the process. And the fourth one is change. This may be changes to our lives or changes to the ecosystem. So if anyone asks if you are engaging in digital transformation, if changes are ongoing in your company or in any partnerships that you are pursuing, then you are on the road to digital transformation. So very quickly, today we are revolving around design thinking and design action. Microsoft and Delta have done a lot towards net zero, and my first question for them is direction. So in 2030, that is the goal we have set. I'd like to ask Vincent about this. What do you think Microsoft or Delta on this journey towards net zero? Can you very quickly summarize Microsoft's policy or approaches towards net zero in the future, or net zero by 2030? Thank you very much, Dr. Lin. Because of the time, I wasn't able to say too much about the details. The overall direction is very clear. The first one is carbon negative, and then there's water, waste, and ecosystem, as well as the planetary computer. This is the ecosystem that we are focusing on. So, as I said, you can download Microsoft's 2020 Sustainability Report. This is an annual report. And in this report, it spells out what we've been doing in the past year, in 2020, what progress we've made in these 4 major areas. And then we also have the outlook for the future. For instance, the use of data, collection, connection of data. This is the core of our future efforts. We need to compile out all of that data. We also look at the data compiled by our partners, and we indeed feel that there is not much time left. 2030 may seem a bit far off, but we are now in the year 2021. If we continue to make our efforts, if we continue to strive towards that goal, I think it is possible that we achieve our goal by 2030. If we continue on the direction that we're going in. The first thing is being able to identify the problems, and then moving on towards ICT and transparent measures to move towards that goal. We also have to adopt these methods very quickly, very rapidly. We have to work together with others in the industry and in the government. I hear the overall direction from Microsoft. Let me summarize for you, see if I'm right. So what I hear is data-driven software company. Microsoft is an AI-enabled company. This is what I've gleaned from Vincent's response. What about Delta? What is Delta's overall view and overall direction leading up to 2030? So for Delta, by 2030, I think, in addition to what I mentioned earlier, and also the SDGs set up by UN, Delta is aligning ourselves with the SDGs. And we've also set up our own goals. By 2030, our factories will use 100% renewable energy. By the year 2030, we are also participating in the RE100 initiative, and we're working together with all of our partners. I think this is a very challenging direction. Delta is a solution provider and also an and also a player in all of this. I think this represents a very large challenge, and right now we're focusing on how far we can see. 10 years is pretty much the more of the midline view. We are engaging with the public. In the future, we'll have to engage more with the public, with the private companies. The third P is partners. I see a lot of questions about people from asking about further partnerships. The last P, what do you think? The people's choice. Or the pain. You need to understand the pain points of people. Now, for instance, Tesla charging ports. There is not enough of these charging ports, and we are all competing for these charging ports. This is a pain point that we'll have to solve in the future. We'll have to come up with alternative solutions. We need to be brave. We need to adopt data-driven solutions. Network is also important in the future, networking everything. Are there any examples of partnerships between big companies like Microsoft and Delta? Delta and Microsoft are working together to. I want to hear from these two here what their thoughts are on the future trends. We need to hear more touching stories or see more examples of such partnerships. So I'm curious, could you tell us more about the partnership between Delta and Microsoft and what kind of changes this has driven? So to go back to what Dr. Lin summarized about Microsoft, Dr. Lin is right. Everything will be data-driven in the future. The value of Microsoft lies in that we have a lot of partners. Delta is very much advanced. They already have very advanced sustainable policies. A lot of our customers and partners, they understand that climate change and sustainability is a very important issue, but they don't know how to begin. They do know that data is the most important part. They know that it has to start from data, and with our cloud solution, our customers and partners are able to see their energy consumption and so on, and our cloud is able to generate reports on the carbon emissions of these companies, and it can pinpoint areas for improvement. So our goal is in helping these customers break down all of that data and gain insight. We want to enable our customers and our partners to use that data and take action. As long as you are willing to share that data with us, we can help you utilize that data. If you're not afraid of laying it all bare for us, then we will be able to help you with our technology. As long as you have that data, we'll be able to provide the analysis and the back-end solutions and help you identify different solutions. Okay, so for Dr. Ke, do you have any other examples of partnerships? For instance, Delta has a partnership with many companies with trend and technology and so on. So very quickly, I'll talk about some of the efforts that we are making in 5G as well as smart manufacturing. We incorporated 5G technology into the PLC manufacturing line. So in the past, employees had to swipe their employee card to punch in. So we worked together with Microsoft to adopt the HoloLens that can scan the employee's retina, and it will be able to identify whether this employee is allowed access in this area. They no longer have to swipe their employee cards or employee badges. We used to use a lot of displays to display all of the instructions, but with HoloLens we can use retina technology to convey all of that information in the process. It can lay out all of the steps. This is an example of this kind of technology. Delta's factories are all equipped with Wi-Fi. We do this to achieve maximum flexibility. For every workstation, they are all Wi-Fi enabled. Sometimes you have to move around in the factory to obtain some materials. Sometimes there are problems with latency and Wi-Fi, and it causes issues. But with 5G technology, we'll be able to address these latency issues. We are working with a Taiwanese telecommunications company to improve 5G technology within our companies. We're using, for instance, picking by light. This will greatly improve efficiency in our factory operations. Another very important part of it is data. Data collection, as Vincent said and Dr. Lin said. All of this control, all of this data, after we collect this data, we'll have to use it in our edge computing, in the intelligent edge. Delta has solutions for this as well. We need to further analyze all of the data collected to make better use of intelligent edge. We use AIoT as well to analyze the data. When in the past, we used to have to rely on humans to listen to, for instance, fans to identify any problems with the fans. But now we are employing AIoT technology so that AIoT technology is able to identify any issues with the fan. If are any abnormal sounds that the fans are making, AIoT can identify the problems. So there's no need for human detection anymore, and this improves the overall efficiency greatly. So if there are today people from factories and vendors, you will know that sometimes humans have to wait around for information to make the decision. Microsoft plus Delta plus 5G technology will be able to enable more efficient factory operations. AIoT will be able to make real-time decisions that humans previously had to wait for more information to make. So this network is important. This connection will expand beyond Taiwan. Microsoft and Delta is working together today. I think there will be more examples of such partnerships in the future. So in the remaining 2 minutes, I'd like you to talk about the following. Last year, I worked on a project using data to resolve energy issues. Within 6 months, this was the presidential hackathon. So there were a lot of teams that came up with solutions in a couple of months using data to create solutions. So my question for Vincent and Callie is how we can further employ this in the future. That's a tough question to answer. Today is Earth Day, and this month is Earth Month at Microsoft, and we have an internal company hackathon. We encourage our company employees to work with others to come up with new solutions. In Taiwan, a lot of hackathons are organized. Last year in 2020, there was also a very important hackathon event. If you are interested in reducing carbon emissions by using data, and you are interested in working together with us, we welcome it with open arms. Taiwan has a lot of talent and a lot of advanced technology, and I think there is a lot of things that we can do. All right, to very quickly wrap up, Delta will continue with its innovation award within Delta. This is for smart products, smart design, smart processes. We have an annual innovation award that is aimed at incentivizing our employees. We use this award to encourage more innovation. Microsoft invited us to participate in its hackathon. Delta had a team that won first place in that hackathon that came up with a solution for improved energy conversion. So we take part in these hackathons. And also, the third part, we engage in outreach with schools and universities, education outreach. We incubate many teams. We also use M&A to identify young entrepreneurs, innovators, and guide developments towards sustainability. All right, 30 seconds left. I think this example of partnership between Microsoft and Delta is the best example there is. Value is created. This value must be incorporated into the ecosystem. Talent is important as well. We need all kinds of talent to move forward. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you. Let's take a group photo today. Thank you for listening, all of the participants online. This will conclude our streaming today. Thank you again for listening.
好的，因为刚好这样至中，好，我们看一下正前方。对，真的非常谢谢我们的主持人跟我们语坛人，真的是不藏私哦，掏心掏肺跟大家分享这么多年来他们做了一些什么样子的创新改变，也希望可以协助更多我们台湾的一些企业，甚至全球的企业做一些零碳经济的数位转型。好，那再来我们要进入我们下一个阶段，我们请同仁再帮我们整理一下舞台。